Hello, you guys. It is Stephanie from Unveiling the Spirit. And today, what I want to talk about is the connection between spiritual and mental health. The reason why I want to talk about this is because, there was a recent story that came out about Meghan Markle, a tell-all interview that she did for Oprah, in which she kind of explained how her mental health deteriorated when she was residing in the palace. And so, she talked about how the pressure from the press, the threats, the negative portrayals of her, coupled with the lack of seriousness that was paid to her by the people around her, contributed to a decline in her mental health to the point where she started to feel suicidal. And so, not only with the Meghan Markle story, which is like kind of the main one that really pushed me to do a video about this, but even also within the past year and the social unrest that we have been having here in the United States, it has brought a conversation to the surface of the Black community about the importance of mental health. Because if not only from the effects of racism, but if you have been following any of these stories at all, you have heard that many of these incidents in which the police end up murdering a Black man came from the Black man having a mental health crisis and the police not really being equipped to handle that. I mean, their families calling the police, first of all, because they were not equipped to handle that. And then also the police not being equipped to handle that, along with, racist beliefs and things like that, which contributed to the person's death. And so I just want to kind of focus on mental health in this video for a moment because, for me, I like to unveil kind of spiritual stuff behind a lot of the stuff that we see and do. And so with mental health, I want to unveil the fact that mental health and spiritual health is actually very, very connected. Like it's connected to each other. And so when you think about your mental health, it's basically like your mental ability to deal with your environment's challenges and things of that nature. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard that we are three-part beings, which means we have a soul, a spirit, a soul, and a body. And so a lot of people, of course, you understand the body, and then you understand the spirit, but a lot of people, interchange soul and spirit. They interchange them when they're not necessarily the same thing. Soul is your mind. So your ability to think, rationalize, make decisions and things like that. And so you have your spirit, your mind or soul, and then your body. And all of these parts of us have needs that have to be met in order for us to function at our optimal and correct level. And so for the body, we know that the needs of the body are very simple. We all have them. They're not a secret. It's basically food and shelter. I mean, some other things can fall into that, but basically it's food and shelter. For the mind has the needs and craves order, direction, and meaning. And so for the spirit, it also has needs that has to be met, which is the spirit desires freedom and purpose and feeling loved. And so when all of these things are supposed to work together to help us to, live complete and full lives and fulfill our purpose in life and things like that. And so if you consider that the spirit, it craves purpose and meaning and feeling love, then the mind now, like I said, the ability to reason, the mind now takes in input from our environment to figure out the best way to go about getting these needs met. And then the body functions as a tool to actually go and do these things. And so all these things were meant to work in synchronization with each other. And it is actually in our fallen state, and what it means to be in a fallen state is that these things are not working in sync with each other like they should, and they are out of alignment. And so when your mental when your thought process or your mental process is out of alignment with your spiritual needs, this is where mental health issues come from. And so, for example, if you are, say, for example, you can use the example of Meghan Markle. She was in an environment where she was not feeling loved. She was not feeling loved. She was not, she may have had some issue with, purpose, and then she didn't really talk about, so I don't want to assume that. But then it's also direction, because she was seeking help for the things that was bothering her, and she was being cut off on every end, and she didn't know what to do. And so this is this was out of alignment with her spiritual needs to be loved. And so it caused a deterioration into her mental state. And so, this misalignment can be addressed in several ways. It can be addressed with medication, a change of environment. Sometimes taking care of your body can also help. But all of these things are temporary if you do not realign your mental needs with your spiritual needs, if they are still not in alignment. Because at some point she has to, and I'm just using Meghan Markle as an example, at some point she has to come to terms with the fact, or the realization of the fact, that yes, all of these things may be happening around me, but I am still loved. I do still have a purpose. I do still have a direction. And so with that in mind, you can see that it all boils down to your thoughts. And so if you don't use your thoughts to align, or your thoughts do not become realigned with your spiritual needs and the purpose of the spirit in and of itself, you will still have issues that medication, environmental changes, and even taking care of your body will not solve. And so, and I know some people might be thinking, well, okay, how do you realign your mental state or your mental needs with your spiritual needs? And it's basically kind of what I suggested a little bit ago, which is through your thought life. You basically have to diagnose, pinpoint, and change those beliefs within you that is causing the misalignment between your spirit and your mind. Because as mentioned before, this is where the turmoil comes from. Your mind starts trying to figure out solutions to solve the problem because the spiritual needs are not being met. And sometimes the solution that it arrives at, unfortunately, is suicide, because you're not seeing a way to fix it, and you know that you can't continue to go on in this way without your need being met. I mean, it's just, think of it in terms of the body. You know you can't survive if you're not eating. And so you will start trying to think of ways to eat and say, okay, can I eat grass? Can I, we've heard some stories about some people even concluding to eat other people, but it's your mind's way of trying to come up with means to survive, to have its needs met. And so the same thing with spiritual needs. So your mind is trying to come up with ways to figure out how to get your spiritual needs met. And so sometimes those because our perception of our options can be very, very limited, we come up with solutions sometimes like suicide, because then that solves the problem, right? And so anyway, so you have to pinpoint your thoughts, and you have to figure out where these thoughts are coming from, how to fix them, how to change them. And this is not easy to do. So don't think that I'm saying, oh, just simply change your thoughts like it's a flip of a switch and then you are fixed, because our environment really teaches us how to perceive things. And so if you're getting all this negative input, in the case of Meghan Markle, where you have so much negativity around you, people ignoring you, you're suffering, nobody's really giving it some serious attention, you are going to find it very, very difficult to latch onto a belief that is telling you the opposite of whatever all these things that you're experiencing. And so that's why a lot of times we have, and I believe God understands this, and has gifted certain people, even coaches, psychologists, counselors, pastors, family members, or friends, to kind of help you pinpoint those thoughts and reaffirm to you those things that your environment is trying to teach you about who you are, and and trying to help you understand why your needs are not being met. And so this is not easy. It definitely is a process, and that's why it's so important to have a firm grasp on God's word, or understand God's word, or believe that God's word is true, because it becomes an anchor in your mind when your environment is not aligning with your spiritual needs. So God, in the word, God says that we are loved. So if everyone around you is not treating you that way, if you can get a very tight hold to what God says about you, it anchors you in a truth that aligns with your spiritual needs. And then if that all points to a more stable mental health. And so, So that's basically what I wanted to talk about and acknowledge. I can talk about this, you know, in many different ways and examples and scenarios. If you are interested in talking to me about this when it comes to your own personal struggles and things like that, I do offer free sessions and would love to kind of go through that with you to at least give you some direction and highlight a path towards you know, figuring out what you need to do to realign your spiritual needs with your mental needs, and you know, of course, eventually improving your mental health. I'll be more than happy to do that. But other than that, I'm going to end this video here so it doesn't go too long. If you guys have any questions or comments or you know, feedback for me, I would love to hear it. Even if you want me to make another video about this topic in a different direction, I would totally love to do that. But just let me know, and I hope you got something out of it. Thank you so much, and you have a good day. Bye.